Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. I have our lovely and talented co-host here with us, Melissa Migliaro. And
Thanks
I finally said that right.
You did.
After it only took me like 6 or 7 shows.
It's okay. It's under 10, so you're okay.
I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're back. How was London and Paris and all those things?
London was good. We always feel blessed to travel and blessed to come back to the United States.
And it's nice. And you actually, you work and you get things done. And that's awesome.
It's good.
Well, good for you. I'm glad you had a good time.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Still winter here in Pittsburgh.
It is still winter.
Though.
Actually, some flurries today. Yeah. But and it was like 72 the other day, which is crazy.
But you know what? Spring is coming. A lot of good things are coming.
Well,
outside of the weather, we've got some good stuff. If we don't stop
trusting a rodent and to tell us the weather, well, I don't know. We have to stop that.
We do. I think Phil will never be on our show.
No,
that's a guarantee.
No, I don't want him on the show because, he's selfish and all. There's just a lot of things about him that I don't like.
And he's usually wrong.
I don't want him on the show.
We need truthful guests.
Yes. So today, you and I are here for a really cool reason, something that I really had no idea was going to happen, but we've actually been doing this for a year. This is our episode number 52, which it's like, I don't even know what to say.
It's a big deal.
It is a big deal. It's a big deal. And, when Nick and I started this journey a year ago, it was... we just figured we'd give it a shot, have some fun and see what happened. But it started to get some legs and, we've come a long way. We really have. Yeah. When you sit back and think about where we started and where we're at today.
A lot of stories, a lot of good people, a lot of inspiration, a lot of life. It's truly your pillars.
Absolutely. That's exactly
it's definitely
right.
Your pillars.
That's exactly right. And I've been really I learned something from every guest that we've had. We've had some really, I want to say, eye-opening, but people have shared things, that I didn't expect.
Right.
And they've been open and honest, and hopefully that's because we've given them the platform where they feel safe and supported and things like that. But it's been really cool. We've had some really, really cool stories.
The stories too bring so many different perspectives. And I hope that's what our audience appreciates, is it's a perspective they would not get otherwise.
Yeah. And that's why we started in the first place. Right? When you think about, remember why you started. We started to tell stories. We're storytellers. And when I thought about this and how we could do it, and because, I really got a little bit I don't want to say fed up, but tired of listening to all these famous people doing these wonderful things. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, I know so-and-so and they do that. And, then I started to think about how many cool people we have here doing really, really interesting and fun things and things that matter.
Yeah.
And
bringing that to life for our viewers.
Right.
And you've done it here at Chico. And
we've
listen. We've been on the road too, which is great.
We've gone on the road. We started off down at his place, Coffee Community and More down in Menneson, and Pastor Tim Bergen and Lisa Lyons. They have been so wonderful to us. And we still go back there when we have somebody that's local, down to the Mon Valley. I mean, we kind of stumbled into Chico one day here in Canonsburg. Honestly, through my day job, we have Canonsburg is a client of ours, Canonsburg Houston Joint Authority, and we just finished up a major wastewater treatment plant upgrade and expansion. So we're here a lot, and we heard about this coffee shop, and we stumbled in one day, and wow, it's really cool, right? It's really cool, and
we have a little nook back here too.
Yeah,
it's a perfect setting,
and we like that vibe. We've the whole coffee shop thing and being out, going to the people, but Lisa and the team here have just been, they're awesome.
We're doing great things. And we've been on the road a little bit too, which is kind of nice.
Been on a road a little bit.
We can make it work. We've got some road trips coming up.
We have some road trips coming up. We're going to be really fun. And, we have to be careful doing road trips to the south side because it was a little bit of a struggle carrying all Nick's gear up the stairs because there's no elevator. So
we might need to get him a little dolly.
He has one. He has a dolly. But the problem is it had those steps that go like this and then over, and almost like a ladder, vertical. And and I'm old and I struggle carrying heavy stuff. You weren't there. So
If
if
I
we
were
had
there,
had you there with the muscle and
the problem would have been eliminated. if
yeah,
I were
because
there.
we could have just piled everything
Yeah.
on you, and you could have carried it up the
True.
steps.
That's right. But you're not old. We just talked about that.
Well,
You're not old. Not yet.
I kind of am, but well,
No. Are we going by actual age or
Yeah,
like
we're going by-
mindset?
chronologically, mindset,
Okay.
I don't feel old.
Okay,
I don't feel
that's
old
good.
at all. I don't think I'm old.
Okay,
but
that's good.
I feel it. I feel it. So
That's
and along this journey, we started out. We had it was Nick and I, and then good friend of mine, my guy Jack Cadwaller. Jack reached out, and he had an interest in podcasts. And Jack is, and you haven't met Jack yet in
I
person.
haven't met
and
Jack yet.
You're gonna love Jack. He's hasn't been with us for the last few months because he got a new job and he's really been into it and doing. But now his schedule is starting, so he'll be back probably within a week or so to get together with us. But so Jack came on board. He had said that he wanted to. He was thinking about doing a podcast and said, can he come over and watch? So he came over and he said, yeah. And he sat in on a few episodes. He took a lot of notes. He sat over and he took notes and finally I said, the best way to learn how to do this is just to do it.
Just to come on.
I said, so why don't you just come on and co-host a show? I said, pick somebody that you're comfortable with, that you want to hear their story.
Mm-hmm.
And he did. And the first one was really great. And so he did a few and he really, we worked well together. Then he had, like I said, he got tied up with this new gig. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you dropped into our lives.
Thanks to Jen.
Thanks to
so
Jen
much
Hisdorf. Yeah, and Jen, just one of our sweet friend, dear friend. And Jen, I put a post on Facebook and Jen tagged you in it.
Yep.
And
she's a very good connector.
She is.
She's doing a lot of good things
is.
for small business owners and
Yep.
women entrepreneurs. So
yeah, and I like, hopefully, I haven't been able to kind of coordinate schedule to go to her little coffee thing that she does up in
get you there.
Carnegie.
We'll get
And,
you there.
where we've actually filmed episodes at Carnegie Coffee as well. So we should actually give them a little shout out because they've been good to us too. So, but so you came on board and all of a sudden started giving orders and throwing things around and so, but
there's an art to delegating, But
maybe that's what we needed. I don't know. What
a
do you
little-
think, Nick? Do you think we needed that? Were we a little bit?
little delegating just to organize it, But then I also got to bring on some pretty amazing guests.
You
and
brought
I
on
hope-
some really cool guests, and,
So-
and that was another thing that I was really grateful for because I wouldn't have thought of that. And one of the shows that I really liked was the Cops and Community show.
Yeah.
The Allegheny Cops. So that was really, I didn't know that these guys were doing that much. And,
and most people don't.
State police, county police, and Port Authority and all that. That was really cool.
The group of engagement, most people don't know what engagement officers do.
Right.
They don't.
Right.
They're busy protecting the streets, but then behind the scenes, they're working extra hard, doing things to
Yeah,
build
because
up
it's not
the
like they're
community.
just like, commercial cops. They're
That's right.
actually, they go out, they patrol, they do all the things
That's
that,
right.
that policemen do, but they do this pretty much
right.
on their own time.
Yeah, spending a lot of time with our youth. So again,
Right.
it's going back to letting our viewers know a different perspective about
Mm-hmm.
different groups, different businesses, different people. So I love that we got those officers on.
Absolutely. And, it's been great. You brought Kelly Kane to us, and I loved that show. 'Cause autism is really near and dear to me. It's very important to me.
Yeah.
And man, I learned so much from that.
I learned a lot from Kelly, and her son Clayton was on the show with
and
us.
Clayton was great.
He was. I think he's camera ready. He said he was shy, but I
He
think he's
said
ready.
he was shy,
He's
and then
ready.
he just took over the show.
Maybe he might take my spot.
That's entirely
That's
possible.
okay.
That is
That's
entirely
okay.
possible. I mean, I checked my phone and see if he's going to call. He hasn't. But so
We had some heavier topics too.
we've had some heavy topics. We did one with Jack on addiction and recovery, and we had Kelly McKevitt, who's the CEO of Southwestern Pennsylvania Human Services, and Joey Pagano, who came to SPHS as, I don't want to say a client, but I mean, he's in fact, Joey's writing a book. We're going to have him back on the show, I think in April, because he's writing a book about his battle with addiction and his journey to recovery. He is actually now, he got himself not only clean, but he went to school and he's a counselor, he's a therapist, he's doing all I'm really proud of the young man. And that was a powerful show.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah. I would throw that in the category when we had Rachel and Megan on.
Yes.
Rachel was
Yes.
the addiction specialist nurse, and her story just gave you chills.
Yeah.
You know, totally different perspective, but she
Right.
turned that somewhat tragedy into a triumph.
That's
You know,
exactly
and
right.
now she's helping others, which is huge.
And, you know, overcoming adversity and transformation, you know, that's really kind of at the core of what we talk about, of the stories we want to tell. And we've had some fun ones. You know, Jack connected us with Phil Bork, our only like real celebrity, I guess, that we've actually had on the show, Borky, the old 2-9er. And he was a lot of fun. He had some really cool stories about, you know, playing with Mario Lemieux and different things like that with the pens. And and that was fun. And he signed a shirt for Lisa, and she was thrilled about that. She still got it hanging on the wall over there.
And you had Santa Claus.
Well, now
He's pretty famous.
I don't put him in this. I don't call him a celebrity. He's more like legendary.
Okay,
He's
that's
more-
fair.
He's more
That's
legendary,
fair.
and we had a good time, and he was up. And listen, I'm not going to lie, I had a pretty good Christmas after that.
I'm thinking he'll probably be back this year, probably.
He will,
right?
yeah.
You know?
And there's a rumor that he's going to bring Mrs. Claus.
Wow.
So yeah, that could be really
good.
cool.
That's
and
really good.
you know, and I'll tell you, we've had one thing I liked is that we've had other podcasters on the show. You know, Eric McKenna, who does the Eric McKenna Project. I mean, when we first started doing this, and I started to look at podcasters that are doing this in Pittsburgh, and he popped up, and I really like the way he does his thing. Different than ours. He's got a studio, a really cool decked out studio. And but the message is similar. You know, he's telling stories and doing those things, but he has a different background than I do, and he is coming from a different direction. But I really like the way he set up his shows and the way he carried himself. So we pulled a lot from that, and then John and Rachel from Yajagoff, you know, who are again a very different type of show than ours. You know, they're very Pittsburgh centric. You know, Yajagoff, that's what it's all about. But we also picked up a lot of things we pulled away from them, you know, and so it's all been part of a process that has taken us from A to B. You know, and we still have a long way to go, but we've got a lot of really cool things on the horizon that are coming up.
We have some really great guests coming up. I know we asked this at the beginning of the year, but it would be great to hear again what some of our viewers are looking for with our future guests. So if you're listening, put something in the chat box for us on Facebook and let us know.
Go to our Facebook page and leave us a note if you have any suggestions or anything like that. That'd be great. We'd love to have that.
Because you guys,
now that you are completely and totally in charge of the Facebook page, you are.
I'm just sharing responsibility.
You are the
so people know people want to know what's coming up. You know, before something drops.
Social media is tough.
Teaser.
Social media is tough. It took Nick. It took you about 6 months to teach me how to copy the link to the YouTube videos. So, but I did master that.
Well, that's good.
So that's my thing.
That's true. But my caveat with social media, you know, I just said this. It's a blessing and a curse. So we love that you find us on social media, but don't scroll too long. Like, don't spend too much time on social media too. That's my health tip of the day. It's my health tip.
No, you're supposed to be encouraging them to scroll until they find us.
Well, once they find us, but I'm saying they can stop scrolling.
Once they find us,
once they find it, you can stop scrolling.
Because there's no really other than us.
Or
there's no reason to be on Facebook other than that.
That's true. Or I kick it up a notch. When you're driving, just put us on in Spotify. You can maximize your drive time.
Because we're on all the major platforms,
right?
Nick? Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere where you listen to a podcast, you'll be able to find us.
So hands-free. They could be multitasking.
And if you're visual, go to YouTube, James Protin Podcast on YouTube, and we're pretty easy to find. And hit that bell and subscribe because that's a big deal.
That's key. And you can like the video too.
You can like the video. Yeah, give a thumbs up.
That's right. We like thumbs up.
Yeah, that's very cool. So I think that we're going to, we really owe it to not only all of the guests, but really to us to really kind of go back and reflect on where we've been and how far we've come. So
a trip down memory lane.
Lane. Yeah, retrospective, whatever you want to call it. But and I think a lot of people do that when they hit an anniversary, like especially the first one. We didn't know we'd be here this long.
Yeah, because no one wants to hear us talk anyway. It's all about our guests.
Yeah, I mean,
especially you.
Look at him. I mean, it's like he's ignoring us already.
Right. Our job is to highlight people and stories.
I've been keeping track. Nick. I've been keeping track.
We should just keep that in.
I've been keeping track of how long it takes Nick to get bored with what we're talking about.
Probably 45 seconds.
It was 3 seconds in the beginning. So he's gone from 3 seconds to just under a minute. So he's still...
Wait, so that's impressive.
Yeah.
It's about 45 seconds where people's attention switches.
He's getting better. He's actually starting to... And I'm not going to say he's actually interested, but he's...
he can pretend, though. He pretends.
Yeah.
He's interested.
Yeah, so he's...
Okay. But the moral of the story is people don't want to hear us talk, really.
They don't want to hear us talk.
So it's, it's our job to just...
They're nowhere near that bored.
They're nowhere near that bored.
Because we probably, I realized that he just yawned.
He yawned. I think he's bored.
He just
Do you think
yawned.
our viewers are bored? I think we should take him down a memory lane.
I think we will.
I think we should recap.
We've had 51 guests, and actually 50 because we did have my dear friend Kelly Frost has been on twice.
Mm-hmm.
The second time with one of her Peel members, Dominique Murray, who's really really cool, and we had a couple celebrity mentions because Dominique, who is just the sweetest kid ever, her boyfriend's name is actually Denzel Washington.
Is it?
So we kind of teased that out there that maybe Denzel Washington's actually going to be on the show.
You could have some fun with that.
Yeah, and her dad's name is Bill Murray.
Well, that could take us over the top.
So we actually have had a couple more celebrities, mentions.
That's impressive.
Well, they weren't here, but
yeah.
So I think what we'll do is let Nick put together a little montage or collection of clips from all of our guests, the 50 folks who were so gracious to come on the show and share their stories and put up with our silliness.
I love it. Let's do it.
All right. And thank you for being here. I'm looking forward to everything that comes next and everything that you're bringing to us.
We'll be there next week. We've got one next week lined up.
We got one next week.
Brookline Teen Outreach.
We will be every Monday morning at 6 a.m. The podcast is published. It goes live. And so look for us then and check out our Facebook page for upcoming episodes and really cool stuff that we just do because we're just really cool.
That's what we do.
Love it. Thank you, dear. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching us and believing us and supporting us. Welcome to the James Protin podcast. I'm your host, James Protin. This is our episode number 1, our launch and our kickoff. And our guest today is MJ Calloway. How did you come about Bounce Up? Where does that originate?
Oh my goodness. So the book itself is not only has my story, but it also both personal and professional, because Jamie, whatever happens to us personally impacts us professionally and vice versa. It also has the story of 8 other entrepreneurs, other business owners. There's also a football coach or prior football coach in there too. And sharing a story of how people hit rock bottom. They really hit rock bottom. And every single one of them, and I'll include myself in there, we bounced up. And how Bounce Up came about was I was at a conference, part of NSA. It was the NSA Influence Conference. It's their largest conference of the year.
And NSA is the National Speakers Association.
Yes, thank you for making sure, because I tend to go into that NSA and not everybody knows what it is. So thank you. The reason why I was so determined to go to that conference was the year prior, and that was in 2017. In 2016, my goal was to become a professional NSA member.
Okay.
And there was guidelines, criteria that I had to hit in order to reach that, and it was an approved only part of the membership. So I hit that in October, beginning of October of 2016, and then 2 weeks later I was diagnosed with the first breast cancer.
Okay.
And the prognosis was 20% chance of surviving over 5 years if chemo didn't work, and chemo had a 50 to 60% chance of working.
Wow.
So the odds were against me, but faith, God, prayer groups, support teams, which I call my power team, and belief, faith. I had faith not only in my higher power is God. It can be the universe. It can be, for different people, it's different things.
Sure.
And also faith in myself that I could do the right things to conquer it.
Right.
Faith in what my medical team offered me. So I made a decision that I was going to influence in 2017. And I share that with the physicians, with my surgeons, and they're saying to me, there's no way. You have 6 months of intense chemo. And the PA said to me at one time, she said, well, we don't give this cocktail to many people because they wouldn't make it.
Wow.
Yes.
That's knowing you the way I do, that's powerful. And see, that just caught me off guard. That's amazing.
So imagine sitting there and hearing that.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, so I'm making it. I am going to make it. So then I had to go through, and I called chemo magic wand. I flipped all of those negative words.
Right.
So, and I had to have surgery, and then I had to have another 8 months of magic wand plus radiation that I call buzz. Going
sure.
off of Buzz Lightyear, because when you think
sure.
about Buzz, Buzz makes you laugh.
Right.
So, and the machine was big, and Buzz is big.
Yeah,
so.
right.
And I was determined I was going. And the one surgeon said, because of what we're giving you, you will probably land in the hospital. I was blessed. I did not. So when I finished radiation on July 5th, and on July 6th, I got on a plane to Orlando, Florida to go to the conference. And this is a long way to get around to Bounce Up. I was part of a coaching group at the time.
Okay.
And we met the day before the conference started. And the business coach, it was a business group, the business coach went around, was sharing what she thought of everyone. She was given descriptive words. And when she came to me, and everybody in the group knew my story, they knew what I was going through. And I was determined to keep business going. And she said, MJ, I don't even have a word for you. She said, I want to say bounce back, but that isn't strong enough.
Right.
And for me, it was like, wow, it was an eye-opener of the way others, thought of me. Mm-hmm. And then it also was, darn, I don't even have a word to use. So I went to the first session, and I had another speaker friend with me, and the gentleman who was given the session at the time, he was talking about websites, and he was talking about bounce rates, and he said something, I don't know what he said, and my first thought was, bounce up. I bounce up.
Right.
I don't bounce back, I bounce up.
Della and Lila book series started when Della, who is now 13, was a little baby. She was 5 years old, and she was in kindergarten. It was a really cold, snowy March, Pennsylvania night, and she was making up some worksheets from kindergarten that she had missed through the week because she wasn't feeling well. And it was, worksheet 1 and worksheet 2, and then we were on worksheet 7 and 8 and 9, and she said, anything to take a break. Can I have a snack? Can I have a drink? Can I tell you a story?
Okay.
And I said, sure, I'd love to hear a story. I love a story. So that night, Della started to tell me this sweet little story about a mermaid who lived in the Monongahela River. And I loved it, right? I mean, I love this idea that this mythical, beautiful creature could live in our Monongahela, which is often so beautiful in the summer, and the opposite
Absolutely.
in March, right?
It has its moments, right.
So the story just started where this mermaid was lived in the river, and I asked Ella a few questions like, well, what was she doing in the river, and why was she talking to you, and what did she need? And so the story just sort of developed, and I actually had my laptop there because I was trying to get some work done too, multitasking.
Right.
As a lot of parents do. And I just started to take down her story, to write down her story. And I thought, this is super cute. I'm going to put this in her baby book. So
Okay.
I had a few additional questions for her, and we sort of figured out what Marina was doing. Marina was the name of the mermaid that Della, gave her in the story. So had a few wrap-up questions, follow-up questions for Della, and she knew though, right? Like she knew exactly
She had it
where,
all figured out.
right? Like a 5-year-old would.
Right, exactly.
She knew in her story, and maybe she didn't know to vocalize it right at the time, but she had it all worked out in her head. So asking her these stories and listening to her answers was a very beautiful moment in itself.
Sure.
Just sort of
That's amazing. Yeah.
listen to the imagination of a child. Like,
I
what's
know.
better than that? So we got all of the details of this magnificent Monongahela mermaid story. Like I said, I thought I would put it in her baby book. And then I thought, I'm going to type this story up completely, and I'm going to send it in our family Christmas cards. And then that happened, and I thought, I actually think this, this is pretty, maybe this deserves a little bit of a wider audience. This is kind of a cute story, and maybe some of her schoolmates would like to hear it, or maybe they would be inspired to write a little bit of a story if they knew that Della wrote a story. So let's support the kids in her class, or, some of her friends at her extracurriculars. So let's share the story with them. So I guess the very short version is one thing led to another. And the story that Della told me that night eventually turned into a book. We found our wonderful illustrator who's illustrated all of our stories for us, Sean Bowman, who was originally from Wales, but now lives in England. So,
Now, how did you find her in England? You're in Brownsville, right?
Yes.
How did you find her?
So how we do everything, the internet. So
Okay.
right. So I went to the internet, and I actually looked at this website called Hire an Illustrator, and I went through all of the portfolios, and I tried to find an artist who sort of captured or encompassed the story that Della told, and I found Sean, and the rest is history. From there, she really knocked it out of the park with her illustrations. And if I would have known what the publishing and distribution world was like, I'm not so sure I would have set foot on this journey
It's interesting.
that we're on.
It's interesting.
It really is. And I think what I told you all those years ago was that had I known what I was getting into, I never would have done it. I never would have been brave enough to do that. And I truly went in very blindly and thought, I can figure this out. I mean, I'm industrious. I can figure things out.
Right.
Had I known what, how difficult it was going to be, and it truly was difficult. And I made every mistake that you can make, and sometimes I made them more than once, and sometimes they were costly, and sometimes it was a learning experience. But I really just sort of picked my way through the problems and worked through the solutions.
Sometimes not knowing is a blessing.
It
right?
truly
'Cause
was.
if you did, had you done the research and really got into it, like you said, you probably
Never.
would have talked yourself out of it.
Absolutely.
It would have stayed a cute little story
Yeah.
in Della's baby book.
Yeah, and the Christmas card.
You had mentioned to me, just as we were talking before we started, is that I know you guys started with just you and your partner,
Correct.
just the two of you, and you're now in 4 years at 200 agents?
We just hit 200. So you always have.
And that's not without acquisition, that's organically, right?
Yeah, that's totally organic. We're not paying people to join our company. We're actually, building a company with good values and morals and a great model. So that's one thing that I think that Realty One Group offered to us as a franchise is we had a model that was unseen in the Pittsburgh market.
Right.
So when I went to meet with the franchise, the reason that I started a real estate company was because it was a disruption model. We
Okay.
could come into a market and we could do things differently. Pittsburgh's been the same old market for 100 years, right?
Sure.
Same thing over and over again. And when I was able to see what we could do to help other people, so giving back, right?
Right.
And helping the agents so that they can make more money, they could have more success, I knew right away that would be the driving force on how we would grow.
And I know several of your agents as well as you, and listen, these people are just, I mean, they have so much respect for you guys, and they're so loyal, and that's the sign of a great company. And that says a lot about not just you guys, but Realty One Group as a corporation.
It is great. We do attract amazing people, and I think that's partially because of our mindset in going in. You know, we don't want or need every agent in the Pittsburgh market, and sometimes we've made a mistake and hired the wrong ones, you know, but we know relatively quickly if they're right or wrong. And, you know, we have people that seriously have our back and are good, loyal, giving people to each other. And what we're seeing in Realty One Group Gold Standard is something I've never seen in any of the companies that I've been at. And my path took me to many companies because I always felt like I was never getting what I was told. So I'd go to a company, they have all these things, and then you'd never see the owner, you would never have the conversations that we're having with our agents. So I wanted to be different in more than just the money. So I think that's something that we do.
But I want to be a matchmaker. So if I know you, and you just mentioned something to me about making a connection, I want to be the person who knows someone. I want to be the one that you can come to and say, I know someone. So I love being a matchmaker, and that's my equal relationships. And then I do feel like as we're sitting in here in his place where we've got a whole business dedicated to serving a community, you have to have those that you're giving into that could never give back. So all of these different levels of relationships play a role, but they provide value and purpose, and you lay your head on the pillow at night and you know you've made an impact in real people's lives.
That's exactly right. And it all starts where you started, right? You have to love people.
Yes.
And you could know everything there is to know about insurance. You could have a PhD in engineering, but if you don't love people, you will not be successful in business, in any business. That's where it all starts, right? Because you're selling to people, you're putting your products, your services in front of people, you're managing people, you have people working for you. It all starts and ends right there.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
One of the other things I think relationships, and this is funny because, this isn't a dig, but back in the day, when I started my career, there was a lot of golf course life insurance sales or golf course sales of some type of insurance. And it's, hey, I'm your buddy, pat you on the back, sign here, I know what I'm doing. With the onset of our availability to go on the internet and find out everything we need to know about everything, that no longer works. So what I like to surprise people with is my warmth and my genuine concern about their individual situation, and then literally shredding them with my knowledge. I am a constant learner. So when they come to me, and I have earned the business of some of the top firms in Pittsburgh because of my knowledge. I would like to say it's because I'm nice, but the back door of that is you have to be excellent
You have to be able to back
at what
it up.
you do.
Right. Right. No, that's exactly right. If you don't know your product, if you don't know your service, you're not going to be able to convey that to anybody else. So no, that's awesome. So that journey that you've taken, and from when you were 2013 when you started this particular piece of it, right? This isn't something that you planned, right? This took adversity in your life, right? A divorce, which we've all been there, and that's what kind of you course corrected. And, instead of saying, woe is me, what am I going to do now? This is what I'm going to do.
It's one thing whenever you're working with someone else, like you're the nanny and you're watching someone else's baby.
Sure,
You're the au pair.
Right.
You've got a fancy title and it's someone else's baby.
Right.
It's another thing when you have your own baby
Sure.
and you call all the shots and you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So I'm really enjoying just being able to do what I think is best for this. And it's been amazing. It's only been 25 days since we actually launched, but I mean, we've got members, we've got our volunteers, which I call them champions.
Okay.
Because it's Pittsburgh's elevated and emerging leaders.
Okay.
So instead of volunteers or ambassadors, I call them champions.
There you go.
Our branding colors are black and gold. We're the city of champions.
We're in Pittsburgh, city of champions, absolutely.
I'm all about branding and marketing, so.
I believe what we are here to do is to enable people to recognize that every person has a gift, It might not be the same. Lisa's gifts are not the same as mine. Jamie, your gifts are not the same as mine. But together, we can all accomplish something. And if we believe in one another, I mean, that's part of what has made his place great, is that Lisa has believed in her gifts. She's trained as a teacher, and yet she's managing all this outreach in the coffee shop, and because she just said yes. And all of your viewers, all of your listeners can do the same thing if they're just willing to take the leap of faith. It takes faith. Faith is doing something you've never done before, saying things you've never said before, and you're going to fall. And that's where the Bible says, listen, when you do fall, God will pick you back up. But just take that leap of faith.
Right. The most important part, and I love this quote, and I'll paraphrase, but the most important part of being good at anything is being brave enough to be bad at it. All right? So you have to be bad before you can be good. Okay? So, and I think that really is what you guys did. You had the courage to put this out there, not knowing if it was going to succeed. I mean, this could have fell flat on his face, right? But, you at least had the courage to take an important investment, okay, and bring it to this city and bring this to life.
You'll not believe how many people came to us and said, you know what, I felt like I should have done the same thing years ago. I felt like I should have done, I felt like I should have put a coffee shop in Minutes. I felt like I should have, it's my friend Reinhard Bonke. He was a famous evangelist, reached all of Africa. He said when God spoke to him and said, Reinhard, I want you to reach all of Africa with the gospel. He paused and he thought about it for a while, and he said that he felt like God spoke to him and said, do you think you're the first one I asked to do this? And he was full of pride, and he said, oh, yeah, well. And he said, no, you're the third person I asked, and 2 others told me no. Will you say yes? And for all of us, it's just a matter of maybe you're not hearing God's voice or that still small voice or whatever, but in your heart, there's something more that you can do. There's something more that you're called to do. There's something greater that you're meant to do. And despite all the voices, the coaches that beat you up, the teachers that beat you up, the parents that beat you up, the friends that let you down, the people that rejected you, despite all those things, you just got to turn around and just say, yes, you know what? I can do this. I'm a Mon Valley kid.
About 2 weeks away from 9 years clean.
Congratulations. That's awesome. That is awesome.
Fantastic.
Good for you, man. I'm very proud of you, young man. That is a tremendous accomplishment. It really is. So,
and it was, not just a tremendous accomplishment, it's just something that, I have to keep in the utmost importance of my life, because like you were just telling me, like those days that led up to that were the darkest days of my life. Hell's just not a place you go. It's something I carried around with me for a good 22 years. I spent in active addiction, just looking for a way out.
Right. So what would you say? What's your assessment? What would you say led you there? Was there a traumatic event that happened in your life? What led you down that path in the first place? Because you were young when that happened.
Yes. I was in active addiction. I started when I was about 16 and a half. I'd say right around there. I was in the military. I used substances in the military. It carried me into when I got out of the military. I came back to the Valley, and drugs weren't as bad as they were now. But like I said, there wasn't cell phones. We were in an age where we hung out at the local bars.
I was there with you.
I
was there with you.
Yeah, Jack was there, and then like all of my experiences, the peer pressure and just wanting to be accepted in places where I didn't accept myself, and I just wanted to fit in.
Right.
And I just, from just a lifetime of just trying to just be okay who I was, and then just, finding drugs, and that led me to fit in. And then that just, led me down the rabbit hole. And for 22 years, I lived in that prison.
It's a tough place to be, because like we were talking, once you slide down there, okay, it's a slippery slope, right? And it's next to impossible to climb back up there, because you might be able to claw up a little bit, then you slide back down.
Yes. And every bottom just has a trap door,
right.
And you think you can get lower, but the disease of addiction, it just opens that door and you dig deeper.
You become a great excuse maker.
Yes, manipulator, excuse maker, and just anything to just show up for duty for the disease of addiction.
Yeah, and honestly, humans, I think, Okay, now you guys are more experts than I am, but I think humans can literally be addicted to anything.
Yes.
Oh, without question.
It doesn't have to just be drugs that would lead you to that place, right? So I have a friend who's struggled with alcoholism, drugs and alcohol, kicked it all, right? Kicked it all, but he'll tell you, okay, he's 58 years old now, and he'll tell you he's still an addict. Okay, even though he's not actively imbibing, he's not doing the drugs, he's not doing the alcohol, he's kicked that, but he still considers himself to be an alcoholic and an addict, right? Even though he's been clean for over a decade. You know, so do you see yourself that way? Do you see yourself still as an addict or recovering addict? Do you add an adjective to that? Or?
I mean, I'm a recovering addict right now, or I call it a person in long-term recovery. I'm always going to be that person. I mean, those struggles did not define who I was. They refined who I am today. So, you know, I got to believe that it's a daily reprieve. And like everything I have in my life up to this point is a direct result of helping someone else. And like, that's why I continually, you know, my purpose is built through that. So I'll always be that person. And I'm grateful for, I wouldn't want to change any day.
You know, being a black woman in this industry is not really a typical, you know, face that you see in construction specifically too.
Right.
You know, I work with a lot of, you know, contractors who are majority, you know, white males. Even, you know, I think I really can't remember. I can probably count on my hand the amount of black people I've worked with in my career so far, really, like personally.
On the construction side
On
of
the construction side of the business. And you know, being a manager in this space and having to direct people like that, you kind of have to fight for your, you know, the respect in a way. And so you need your company to be behind you in that sense as well. So, you know, I think you just have to be kind of a special kind of person, I guess, to be able to deal with the adversities, to be able to continue to fight through them. You know, I don't know.
I think you have to be resilient, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, you probably get knocked down as many times as you're willing to stand up. You know, because you had an uphill climb from the very beginning. Okay, being a woman and being a woman of color, right? So that's, you know, right there. There's two things that in that side of our business are held against you.
Right.
They are pushed out there as a negative.
Yeah.
So before anybody even gets to your education, to your ability, to your knowledge, you got to fight through those first two things before you can even get to that.
Right. So you're fighting for that respect, that appreciation for what, you know, who you are, what you're here to do, and so being considered, you know, a leader or a manager or whatever, you know, you have to fight for that inclusiveness.
Tell me about this process that you've developed, what we're looking at right here.
Well, I photographed Jo for her portrait, and I probably had 20 photographs to choose from. I picked my favorite and I line it up. I have to line up their nose to come dead center of each portrait. You can't have people tilted. There's a lot of mechanical stuff that I do. Once I render the basic sketch onto the canvas, I usually disappears, and I choose a theme. They're all different. Sometimes they have grid patterns behind the portraits. Others are like paint splatters. Some have symbolism. There's Tatiana Savchuk is from Ukraine, and ironically, she has the only portrait that has a flag in the background, and the Ukrainian flag is now super iconic.
Sure.
There's some color symbolism. There's country symbolism. And some of them, and others, I wanted to do somebody with pink hair. So
I got purple hair, as you can see.
Yeah. And just like anything, you get better as a podcaster, as a writer, as things go. I just started developing system. That's why when we canceled the first show in March 13th of 2020, the weekend of the shutdown, I was excited because I was getting better at them and I saw the potential. I was unhappy for the reasons. COVID was bizarre, but it became my way of going on a balcony and playing violin and sending out positive energy to the world. And I just kept making them. I became sort of obsessed with meeting people as best I could during those times. And I'd hear a story and it's like, that guy's got to be a big face, and people nominate themselves too. And sometimes I'd be working on 5 at one time and I just kept making them. And I don't know if you could say any one of them are complete. That one is something complete, but you have to say that's at a completed stage. I got to go on to the next.
Sure.
And you look up, and 2.5 years later.
Right.
Yeah.
I started photographing people 5 days after the shutdown in March at a safe distance for
Sure.
new portraits. I started making them again. So, and I would post people's stories on social media to end their different stages of their portrait, and it gave me the idea of running mounting signs with each portrait.
Right.
Because I love seeing people at the show on the 18th and on July 8th rather.
Sure.
Reading the stories of all the people. It's all about stories, diversity of stories.
It is.
Whether somebody is black or white or burnt sienna or raw umber or vermilion with a touch of Naples yellow or a cultural background. It's all about their stories, and
That's exactly right.
and I wanted people to be able to see their stories in their.
So I have somewhat of a unique journey because healthcare has sort of been in my family. My father was the vice president of human resources at the Washington Hospital, and then of course the health system, and he retired after 40 years of service. So I spent my childhood thinking that the only options were nonprofit healthcare because of course that's what you know as a kid.
Right.
And so I thought for a little while I would do that, and then thought, you know what? No, I don't think I want to do that because I want to do something on my own. And so I thought I would be a broadcaster, and of course then the realization of that sets in, and I'm not going to be a broadcaster. I go to IUP, journalism major, looking for an internship. It doesn't go quite right. I end up back at the Washington Hospital. And so it turned out, of course, bringing me here and teaching me about what a foundation is, what philanthropy is. And so my dad was instrumental in connecting me with some folks at the hospital, and my mentor, Rich Mahoney, who was the previous executive director for the Washington Health System Foundation, who retired after a 28-year stint.
Okay.
And so I had the good fortune of working for him for 9 years right out of college and learning from him about what health system philanthropy, what a foundation is, and the support that it can offer to a supporting organization. And left there after 9 years for growth and development, went to another independent community hospital, and that is how, of course, you and I met, which has been 10 years now, if you can even believe that.
It is hard to believe.
And so I was the vice president of fund development for Monongahela Valley Hospital.
Okay.
Rich retired, as I mentioned, and so again looking for some more growth and development, so I ended up leaving there and was hired by Brooke and Gary Weinstein to be the executive director of the Washington Health System Foundation. And hard to believe, but I have been there now for 4 years. I just hit my anniversary, so.
Good for you. Congratulations.
Yeah, so I've spent 20 years in healthcare, hospital, philanthropy, and it's what I know, and it's what I love.
Part of what has made me really passionate about my career is this community, because I'm not from here. So I'm originally from West Virginia. Okay, here we go. Teeth. I'm wearing shoes. I'm not married to my cousin. Just so that we've covered all the basics about the West Virginia.
You've just crushed so many
myths. The West Virginia myths. Anywho, WVU, Mountaineer. Okay, so, but for me, I came to this community in 1998. Okay. For a part of the rebirth of Washington Crown Center. So it was formerly the Franklin Mall. Right. So the long-standing Washingtonians still call it the Franklin Mall, and it's absolutely. It jabs me right, like it's like, all right, but we spent $250,000 to change the name to Washington Crown Center. Whatever you call it, I just wanted you to shop there. But for me, and I will say this, like it was something to come to this community and see how passionate people were about their town, Little Washington, as it's called everywhere else, right?
Little Washington, absolutely.
So we renovated that mall, which was amazing. It was an amazing experience. And my best friend actually said when I left the mall to go to the Galleria that some of my blood was in the mortar of the renovation. And I felt that, but it was the people here. And 20 plus years later, I've lived here. I met my life partner and the person that makes me want to do more, and my life changed because of this community and the people in it. So when you said if we have a platform or a space for him, there's so many little hidden gems
Exactly.
in Washington County.
Exactly.
And we have space for him and that art community. So
We need to make that happen.
we're
We
going
definitely
to.
need to make that
All
happen.
right, right here. We're vowing right here, right now.
Absolutely. In
Pinky
front of
swear.
witnesses.
Witnesses.
In front of witnesses. And Nick. My brother, my good friend, Mayor Ed Gainey of the city of Pittsburgh, and a newly minted, soon to be unveiled, really big face, which is
Yeah, can't wait to see it. Kind of curious of what it looked like.
gonna get that handsome mug up on the
Right.
on the big on the canvas.
Saying, make me look good. That's all. Make me look good.
He
right?
will. He's an amazing dude, and I'm glad we had a chance to finally sit down and talk. Like I said, we've known each other for a good while now, and you know, you have a lot of respect for you, my friend,
respect for
and
you,
how
brother.
you do things. And you know, when you first told me that you were going to run for mayor, I mean, that hit me. It hit me hard because I knew, knowing you, I knew you were the guy, right? And you were the guy that could do this and could take this city to the next level, to take it forward to the next generation. That's the thing. You are a generational mayor, okay? What does that mean to you?
You know, generational mayor, and I think that's an interesting concept. When you said, I often tell people that I see my administration as the bridge to tomorrow. I don't think that going forward you will have another mayor. The next mayor to come after me will be from a younger generation.
Right.
I think that you see the city getting younger, and I think in that there was a bridge between yesterday and today that leads into the future. And that's how I see my administration, as one as that bridging the gap between what was yesterday, what is today, and what tomorrow will bring.
Sure. And you know, beyond the fact, you know, the obvious fact everybody wants to talk about, you're the first black mayor in 250 plus years in Pittsburgh. But even more than that, what you bring to the table, okay, with your background, born and raised, you're a city guy, right? Born and raised, you understand government. Now, politics, government, which is a huge thing, right? Because this city doesn't need a politician sitting in that chair, right?
You know, the one thing that I said when I ran for office is that, you know, I didn't really learn how to politic in this city. I learned how to politic outside the city. When I was growing up, I never met a politician, so I really couldn't have a political mentor because I didn't know one. I never had one knock on my door, call my house. I didn't live in the community where they came to.
Right.
And so for me, the first politician I met was a gentleman named Mayor Kurt Smoke in Baltimore.
Okay.
And as I began to grow in politics, I had another politician from Philadelphia, Mike Nutter, tell me that
know him well, yeah.
Mike Nutter tell me that my office is downtown, but my work is in the neighborhoods. And a lot of the politicians that I've seen outside of this region,
that's huge.
You know, that's the style that I adopted. Those mayors that are actually out in the neighborhood, and as you stated earlier, letting their presence be felt and allowing their presence to affect change.
Right.
And that's what we've been doing since we came in.
When I started doing this, I started looking around, Googling podcasts, local podcasts. Yours came up, and so I reached out to you on social media because you've been doing it a while and you're doing it right. You know, you're not doing anything that's not you. It's real, it's authentic, and I love that. That's what I'm all about.
I appreciate that. That's the one compliment that anybody says that I really take to heart. Like, you know, we're doing this, number one, to have fun.
Yeah.
But to be purely authentic and to have real conversations, you know, with no other bent to it.
Yeah, that's very cool. And you got a great story. You know, and when we started this show, it was about storytelling, right? It was just
100%.
There's so many cool people doing really, really cool things just right around here. You know, we don't need to go out to, you know, nationally or anything like that. We have some really, really amazing people here. And when I read your story and I reread it on your website, there's a quote you put in there that you said that really struck me, right? And it's when you said, even when I was too young to understand why rock and roll records repeatedly played as a young child encouraged a strong desire to do things my way, right? I mean, to me, that's huge.
Yeah, you know? I think so. I don't know if I understood it at the time.
Right.
But it seemed like I was gravitating toward music that was very independent in nature, like had themes in it where, you know, screw the world, F this, you know, do your own thing. You can do things. Don't take no for an answer.
Right.
You know, and I think that landed well with me, James, because I had a little bit of timidity in me as a kid. So this was kind of like an alter ego thing. I would this music was maybe showing me another way, maybe help me get out of some of that timidity.
Sure,
you know,
sure. Help you step outside.
Early, as a young person, I think so.
Yeah, and music. It's amazing how music drives us and guides us to different places. I'm a child of the '60s, right? The Woodstock generation. So we always had
good
music
stuff,
around the
man.
house. Yeah, well, listen, and it was funny because my dad was 7 or 8 years older than my mother, right? So, and he was a jazz guy, right? So we always had Miles Davis and
right on.
Coltrane and Brubeck and all that stuff was always around the house. And then there's my mother, who's this little hippie chick, right? And she's literally Woodstock, right? So you mix that in with the Beatles and the Rolling Stones and the Grateful Dead and all these things. So I had a very eclectic upbringing musically. You know what I mean? And
For sure.
I have no musical talent whatsoever. I've never played an instrument, but I appreciate music, and to this day I do because of that. And I relate a lot of life experience to that.
Yeah, music is when I say it's everything to me, I know it's kind of a catchphrase, a cliche, but anything good that ever happened to me in my life, usually if you wind it back, it usually started with some kind of song, event, band, friendship born out of love of music. It's always music I can relate to some kind of musical start of something good.
Yeah.
It does. And honestly, unless you have lived it, it is very difficult to understand.
Mm-hmm.
And not that people don't try, but it is just something that until you've been in that place and you deal with it every day, it's very difficult. It's not that they're not empathetic to you, it's just it's hard for them to comprehend how a mind could work like that.
Sure.
And I've tried over time to explain to people, I've mentioned it to certain people, and the people that I've mentioned it to, most of them have reacted oddly, in my opinion.
Okay.
I have had responses like, "Oh, but life's not that bad," and I'm like,
Right.
"No, it's not how that is."
Sure.
And then you get the, "Well, what made you sad?" It's mental illness, depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, any of those they're an actual illness.
Right.
It is not something that can be worse. It's not something that can be better. It's something, just like I'm going to use diabetes for an example.
Mm-hmm.
You take your medicine, okay? You take your insulin, you take your medicine, and it gets better with those things.
Sure.
But stress can cause your sugar to go up. Okay, just like stress on a situation can cause certain things to make your depression worse.
Doesn't get cured. There's not a cure. You don't get better to the point you learn, and I don't want to say you learn to live with it, but you learn to manage it.
Correct.
Right?
Just like diabetes, it's something you learn to manage. It's not something that you can just cure.
2 weeks before my junior year of college there, I was diagnosed with ALL leukemia, acute lymphoblastic leukemia. I had symptoms the summer of 2005, not having a clue that it would be cancer. I had water retention. I had random bruises. One was like on the palm of my hand. It was huge. It was bigger than like a dollar size, like a coin. And it just didn't go away. I had random bruises on my elbows and on my legs. And yeah, I'm a 19-year-old, but I wasn't that clumsy. Let's be honest.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
So
you were an athlete.
Yeah. I was interning at a pharmacist here in Pittsburgh, and I was working a 10-hour shift one day, and I was so fatigued. I mean, it was god awful. I had some bleeding going on, and I talked to the pharmacist, and I said, I just don't feel right. Something's up. She's like, well, go home and rest.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to your PCP if you're really worried about it. You know, I don't know what, basically I don't know what to tell you, but take care of yourself.
Sure.
And I remember driving home that night. I was talking to a friend and I said, I literally feel like I'm going to die. I am so tired and I don't feel well. I ended up having a fever of 103 degrees when I got home.
Wow.
Tired as ever. And I fought with my parents. I said, just let me sleep. I came home. I plotted myself on the couch. I said, just let me sleep it off. They did not listen. They called the PCP on call. He said, get her to the hospital after they told him my symptoms. So they rushed me to what was Southside Hospital at the time.
Okay.
Stayed overnight, did all the blood work. The next day, doctor comes in. He said to my dad, who was with me at the time, I think it could be leukemia. I'm not sure, but we need to have a bone marrow biopsy to confirm. I look at my dad. I don't know if you know what a bone marrow biopsy is like, but I looked at my dad and I said, what the heck is that?
It's unpleasant.
I said,
yes.
What does that mean? And as soon as he told me, I just started crying my eyes out because I was terrified, of course. So they transferred me to another hospital where I would be better suited and treated. So we're talking Wednesday night I went to the hospital. Thursday, they think it might be leukemia. Friday, I get the bone marrow biopsy. Saturday, I'm by myself in the room because I'm 19 and a doctor walks in. My parents were getting ready to come see me. And this doctor walks in, doesn't even smile, stands over my bed like he's the dominant one and says, it's confirmed you have ALL leukemia. We need you to sign consent forms for treatment. It starts on Monday. We don't have any time to wait. And all I heard was, you cannot go back to school. And side effects are X, Y, and Z. And by the way, one is infertility risk. And I was like, what? I think I blacked out, if I'm honest.
In Carlington, I was one of one therapist for 700 students. So I couldn't see everything that was going on.
Right.
So I relied on that staff so much to say, hey, look, I've got a student in my class. They're withdrawn. Their grades are dropping. Something's up. Can you just be my wingman here and figure it out?
A lot of times teachers will see behavior changes more than parents. The teachers
absolutely
really get to know
it's
kids
their safe
sometimes
space.
Better than parents.
A lot of times, and I think that's
Especially
one of the
if you have
reasons.
2 working parents, you know.
Yeah, and I think that's why anxiety and depression went up so much during the pandemic, because school was the safe place.
Yeah.
And you were at home, and we had so many issues that they didn't have that teacher to vent to. They didn't have those things. And just like counseling, I'm not taught how to be a teacher. When they're a teacher, they're not taught how to deal with mental health.
Right.
So I don't expect them to do my job, and don't ask me to teach a math class. It's not happening.
Right.
So it's one of those things. I really relied on that staff, and they were, just speaking of Carlington in general, the staff there was phenomenal. They are huge advocates. The whole administration was huge advocates for mental health, and I couldn't have been more blessed to be in that environment.
That's awesome.
But they, it's nice that you can see different things. And I can remember one time I was standing in the hallway with the high school principal there, and you're trained as a mental health professional to kind of see. And I said, that one. They were walking in off the bus, and he's like, why? I said, I need to talk to that one today. I was like, something's going on. And and he was one of mine in general. And I remember pulling him down, and I was like, okay, this is what's going on at home. This is what I found out. So.
Your mom, Gina, who was the executive director of the Greater Ross River Chamber of Commerce when I was the president of the Mon Valley Regional Chamber of Commerce. Know her well, did a lot of things together. What did you pull from your mom, other than the normal mom stuff, but as far as, tell me something that you can relate to, a lesson from her that helps you right now in your business life.
She was so good at making connections and networking with people. I think we would joke with her. My brother and I would joke with her all the time that she was like the mayor of Belle Vernon. She knows everybody in the Mon Valley.
Sure.
So
sounds familiar.
Yeah, for sure. And then also, and still to this day, and I'm sure she always will be, she's so prideful in local small businesses, and your local hometown matters, and that's something that I take with me too.
Good.
Yeah,
that's huge.
Yeah,
that's
is.
Huge.
Yeah, but the number one thing is just networking and connections, and just how to talk to people and how to treat people, and but also keeping it focused in your local hometown too.
This is not something that impedes intelligence.
Right.
Right. So
No.
there are very highly intelligent, highly
Right.
educated people with autism.
Yes.
That are functioning members of society, which is a
Yes.
term I hate, but it's something that you hear all the time.
Right.
Would you say that's probably a stigma? With like
Yes.
I don't know if
Yeah,
stigma is the right word.
You know
but
what I think? This is what I think, and maybe Clayton, you could chime in on this. When somebody says, "Oh," if I say Clayton has autism, they go, "Oh, yeah." They have no idea what
right.
it means.
Right.
Not really.
No clue.
Yeah, they
No
have
clue.
no clue, and I'm like, "Oh, you don't know." So the gaps that we saw were knowledge, right? So training businesses was the first thing that we wanted
Spreading
to
awareness.
acknowledge.
Right.
Spreading. Well, people are aware.
But
And
uneducated.
But like they don't know. They just don't know.
Aware to the point. I love what you're saying, and what I mean by awareness is you can know something's out there, right? You can know autism is a thing, but being aware of it is understanding what it is. That's where I was going with that, right?
Yeah. So they'll say, "Oh, yeah," but they don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So when Heidi and I could still remember the conversation at Eaton Park. I'm like, I think we need to do training. She's like, yes, businesses, organizations, like people don't get it. And get it, those two words have been like my thing. Like I always say, you just don't get it. And I've had to say that to friends I've had for 20 years that will ask me a question or ask us to go do something. I'm like, I can't. And they're like, well, I'm like, I can't. You
it's
don't
probably
get
really
it.
frustrating as a mother. And maybe Clayton, from your perspective, is it frustrating too when you feel like people just don't get it? Or
always, it's a very how can I put it? It's like I try to make people understand, and sometimes they still don't get it, even though I explain into like every detail.
Right.
Like that I can't.
Right.
Like they don't understand still, and it gets frustrating at times, definitely.
And as his mom, I still have to remind myself that he has autism.
And that's another very good point, because
we've had that conversation.
You
so
don't
I
look
could say that.
like there's a person with autism doesn't look autistic. Right. So I mean, this is a very well-spoken, handsome young man, right? And there's no physical identifier.
Right. So that's the first issue. You know what I mean? Like, go back to the broken arm. You could see they have a broken arm. They need help. You look at Clayton, you wouldn't think that he would need help ordering from that very large menu. Right. So I mean, like, that was confusing to him. So he looks to me like, I'm like, oh, well, here's something right here. You know what I mean? To help process some of that out.
Well, yeah, and that's why you don't even think about that, because I said that. I said everything on the menu is really, really good, right?
That's it.
Until you came over, he wasn't going to be able to choose from that menu, and that menu's intimidating. And people who haven't seen the menu here at Chico's, like there's like a bazillion things on it, and they are all delicious, but it's like it's intimidating.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit now about the reindeer, which is probably the biggest thing that kids they listen for the hoofs on the rooftop and all. Exactly. So you have 8 reindeer, and I'm pretty sure I can name 6 of them: Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, Vixen, Comet, Cupid. But I get kind of tripped up. What are the last 2?
Well, the last 2 are known as Donner and Blitzen, although originally Donner was known as Donder. It was Donder and Blitzen, which I believe is a German or Dutch translation of thunder and lightning.
Oh, there you
Donder
go.
And Blitzen,
There you
thunder
go.
and lightning, because they're like thunder and lightning coming out of the sky. They're fast, and they move fast, and they strike fast.
That was just a little bit of a quiz there.
Yeah, but many years ago, but many years ago, there's a fellow named Gene Autry, and he recorded a very famous song about one of my reindeer, Rudolph. And he starts the song, Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen and Comet and Cupid and Donner and Blitz. He changed Donder to Donner because it was it was a little bit easier for him to sing, to pronounce, to being from the South. Donder kind of, and very faintly. I mean, if you're like an audio expert, if you turn up, you might hear him say Donder, but it comes out Donner.
Okay.
But and people have accepted that, and I'm fine with that. Donner's fine with that.
He's okay with that? Sure,
We call
okay.
him Donner, we call him Donder, either or. But originally it derived from thunder. Donder and Blitzen, thunder and lightning.
Wonderful. That is very cool. So you found your way to Pike Street. Was this one of the first locations that Lisa showed you?
It was, but it wasn't until the last, like she showed us a few, and then it just they didn't feel right, or we just didn't feel like space-wise it was going to be enough, or whatever, for whatever reason. And then I just told her, it was like getting close to Christmas, or, it was like November, I think. And I said, all right, how about we take a break until after the holidays? Just December, we're swamped. Don't call me until after Christmas, basically.
Okay.
It was like December 20 something. It was before Christmas, like the 21st.
Okay.
I'm making that up, but it was very close. and she
we don't care.
Yeah,
whatever.
It was like a couple days before
December-ish.
Christmas. Yeah, it was close. And she says, I know you said don't bother you until after Christmas, but I really feel like you guys need to come and see this location. And ARC had acquired this building.
Okay. ARC Human Services.
ARC Human
It's
Services.
A great organization.
And I knew what ARC was. I have my teaching background, and I have a special ed master's. So I knew ARC Human Services, and I knew that they were moving, but I did not know it was a completed sale, and they had offices already built. And so they acquired this building, had almost all their offices done on the upper level and downstairs from us. And they were looking for like a cafe kind of place to be on their first floor.
Okay.
And it just so happened that Lisa said, hey, listen, they're looking for this. I don't want you to wait. Can you come and look?
Okay.
And it was like 2 days before Christmas.
Yeah.
I mean, she made it sound urgent enough
Okay.
that we came in, and it was totally gutted. I'm not visual. And and I looked in, and I was like, I have no idea. I guess it could be a coffee shop.
Well, this was a furniture store, right?
It was 4 floors, I believe, Brody Furniture.
Yeah.
And and I had been to the furniture store. So I knew what it was, and what a transformation, and just an amazing build out they did. And
this is phenomenal. And I mean, there's no way you could have walked in the door when this was gutted and seen this.
No, you couldn't.
Nobody could have visualized that.
Part of the I'm just looking at the floor as we're sitting here. That's one of the things that we get the most immediate response on, is like, who did the floor, or who picked this out. And I just wanted, like, this whole design, I had pictures from Pinterest.
Okay.
That I had saved some pictures, and I ran them by, of course, Nancy and I looked at the pictures, and we were like, we kind of like how this looks. If it's not going to be like the old school look like Washington is,
right,
then we'd kind of like it to look something like this. And we went, Christine May is an interior designer, and they do tons of work, but she is like a couple doors up.
And she's local?
And she's local, and she's a couple doors up from our shop in Cannonsburg. And Christine is, I can't say enough about her. She did the plans. We showed her what we wanted to look at. She came in, she did all the plans.
Wow, nice.
She, we told her, even down to light fixtures, everything. She picked everything.
Wow.
So it looks so much like our pictures that it was all Christine. So,
and see, I've been giving you credit for this to everybody. Now I have to go back and tell everyone. It
tell
actually
her.
wasn't you.
It wasn't me. No, I mean, we picked it out.
You picked the pic. You went on Pinterest. You put forth all the effort. She just took advantage of your.
Work. She did all the work. I just said this is what we want it to look like, and she did an amazing job.
Oh, it's incredible, and your partnership with ARC, Ed Piccarini's my buddy's a Bell Vernon guy. He's a basketball guy. I've known the Piccarini.
He looks like a basketball guy.
I actually coached 3 or 4 of his nephews You know,
Really?
when I was coaching at Bell Vernon, I was a varsity assistant there for years.
Yeah,
and,
we love Ed.
A bunch of, he's the best. And I tried to get him on the show, but you know, he's like the George Clooney of Washington County. So he just went, you know, he's always got, well, you know what, I'd love to, but I got to go do this. And you know, so
Yeah,
but
he's funny.
he said he keeps telling me, well, you need to talk to Darylyn. I mean, why would you? Nobody wants to talk to me. And I said, well, but you're the boss. He said, nah. He just So he's just like, you know. But Ed's a good man, and this relationship really works. Did you visualize that? You know, with the art and all of those things.
The art was actually Ed. I don't know who on Ed's team, but Darylyn is a big part of this.
She does a great
Darylyn
job.
McCreary is a wonderful person, and I've known her family actually for years before this. But it was their idea to do art gallery kind of stuff in here and highlight not only people with disabilities, but local artists that could, you know, have a place to put their artwork.
Sure.
And so we kind of had some walls up front here that are gray, the gray colored walls, the artwork's on. And then and behind our space, if you go all the way through our space, there's their studio room, and they have all the artwork there too. And I know ARC makes a proceed of every painting or artwork that's sold, which is, you know, and I mean, that's the bonus of it, but it's,
Absolutely.
you know what I mean? But what's really cool is the fact that people can highlight their artwork.
In other words, if somebody's watching this and you wanted them to know in 30 seconds, what would you want them? What's the most important? What's in your heart about Peel? What's the most important thing?
30 seconds.
Or a minute, or 2 minutes, or whatever it takes. But I want reach into your heart. Tell me what's in there about this organization, because this is more than just you creating an organization, a networking organization. This is deeper for you.
Yeah, it really is. Like I said before, Peel really came out of wanting to help people. You know, it's the philanthropy behind it. It's giving back to the community. It's finding these charities that need help, because I've had so many people that come to me and just start talking to me. And I mean, for instance, I had lunch with someone yesterday, have never really talked to them before. They told me that half of their whole life story, you know,
Nice.
and it's only because they ran out of time that they didn't finish it.
Sure. Well, you're easy to talk to. You're one of those people. Again, when we first got together and did the first show, you and I did not know each other, and you were open and transparent and honest and told your story. And I mean, I can't thank you enough for that, because at that time, I mean, we were only Nick, 3 or 4 shows. You know, you were like in the first handful, and hopefully we've gotten better since then. But we didn't know what we were doing; we were just making it up, you know. But you really helped that along, because of who you are, and we had a great conversation. And from that conversation, listen, as soon as you walked out the door, I was all in. I was all in with Peel and what you were doing, and we haven't looked back. And this is a very important partnership for me personally, the podcast and GPI. So we're thrilled to be a part of it.
That's wonderful.
This amazing young lady here, who is just phenomenally talented, because she actually has found a way to make me actually look good, which is, I got to tell you, you know, the headshot you took of me, everybody that sees it doesn't believe it's actually me. So,
I mean.
But this is Dominique Murray Photography. We're in the studio here in the South Side, and we had another group of GPI colleagues doing headshots, and thank you both for this opportunity, because it's really helped us a lot. So, Dominique, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm so glad you guys came back. We had so much fun last time.
It was fun.
Good round two.
This is good stuff. So, tell me a little bit about your background. Where you're from, and you're local, right? You're a Pittsburgh girl.
Yeah, I born and raised in McKees Rocks.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I went to Robert Morris for college, but the whole art thing kind of started in high school, actually. So I had been taking pictures forever, and I had some really awesome art teachers that opened up different photography programs and Photoshop programs at Olsh, Our Lady Sacred Heart in Coraopolis.
Okay, sure.
So at the time, I had wanted to be a teacher, and I just kind of fell in love with the whole photographing thing. And I was talking to my art teacher, and I was like, I don't know what I want to do. I'm really enjoying this, but I really want to be a teacher. And I think I want to teach English, but like, I don't really know. And she was like, well, why don't you just like teach photography if you like it so much? And I like, my jaw just like hit the floor, and I was like, people do that? Like there's like, and she was like, I literally teach you photography. Like, yes, people do that. And I was like, this is a little embarrassing, but like, you're right. So I went home and like did a bunch of research and just started looking at like what that would look like. And so I just kind of like switched my gears in high school. Ended up picking Robert Morris as my college and went to school for a media arts degree, but my concentration was in photography. So I got trained in a little bit of like different mediums and classes and formats, which was really nice because I got to like really touch on different pieces of art. My junior year, I actually ended up interning at a magazine company, which is where I met Kelly. So it's been quite some time. But everybody there had like ran their own business, and I thought it was so cool. So I decided that instead of like going and trying to apply for like a more corporate style photography job, that I just really wanted to do my own thing. So just kind of followed everybody's lead there, and everybody's been super helpful and still supportive, and graduated, took a year to figure everything out. My parents were super supportive of the whole process. They both have had jobs their whole lives, and that whole running your own business was so new. So we would like go to Barnes & Noble on the weekend and like how to open a business for dummies, like sitting on the floor, like flipping through these pages.
That's
like me and my mom.
Because it's not easy.
Me and my mom are like, there's pictures of us like taking photos of the books and just, you know, sitting there for hours and hours and hours. So they're super supportive, and so I got a studio, and it's just been some sort of ride since, you know, it comes and goes in waves with the difficulties, but yeah.
What type of photography do you do? Do you specialize in anything, or just broad brush? What do you do?
Yeah, I do like a lot of luxury work, so it's the focus is going to be portraits, but that is like pretty all-encompassing. So I mean, you guys came in for headshots, but I do personal branding, I do high school seniors, I work with a lot of models, and you know, do kind of like magazine ad work. So the whole portrait area is really like where my focus is.
That was a good montage of some of some of the highlights. We couldn't fit everything in, but
but it was great to go back and some great memories. And again, amazing people, some old friends and some new friends that you know that we're really excited about. And listen, I'm excited about going forward. You know, now that we've got our new logo. Yep. And thank you to
MJ Jenkins. So thank you for that. Super talented.
Very talented, because and really it was kind of like just
it was very timely for you know your year anniversary.
Yep.
And you have something else coming up, something very special, a publishing opportunity.
We do, yeah. We probably mid-April, from what it looks like. The book that it's been rattling around in my brain for about 10 years is finally going to be put on paper and be published. So that is really cool. Corey Walmsley at Aurora Coriolis Publishing, and Corey's been a guest on the show, and I'm excited about it. I'm excited and terrified at the same time.
Hey, I'm thinking we'll probably do a book signing party.
I think we will, and I think
details to
come.
Know,
with you and Kelly Frost, working on the launch and the marketing of the book. I'm in good hands, and I'm completely and totally trust you guys, and so look forward. Like I said, a lot of things coming up, and. Nick, what do you got? What are you gonna be doing other than like yawning and
keeping us in line?
Yeah,
sleeping and keeping us in line.
Nick will be. You can find him at the Valley Inn Fire Department and a couple other really cool places where he hangs out. And I would be remiss, both of us, if we didn't acknowledge Nick and his contribution. Nick, come over.
He's the magic
come
behind
come over
the
here
scenes.
And say hello to the people. It's a special
on,
show. It's our anniversary. Come on, Nick.
The magic behind the scenes. This is the behind the scenes magic, everyone.
And honestly, if it wasn't for Nick, none of this happens, because Nick, all the gear, all of this everything, and the quality of what we're able to put out there is due to this young man right here. So I thank you. You know, I was skeptical, and because you know you're a little goofy, but I was skeptical, but you know, I love you. I'm proud of you. I'm impressed with you, and I'm really happy that we decided to go forward with this, and I'm looking forward to everything that comes next.
Yeah. And he'll be buying you lunch today after this. Yeah.
Yep. And I'm gonna have to ask your mom for a raise because you eat way too much.